Hello, Morongo Basin, and listeners around the world online at Z107.7 FM.com. Here is the Z107.7 Local news for Thursday, June 25th, 2026. 2 minors were injured and 1 was arrested on suspicion of DUI after a collision into a Yucca Valley yard. On June 13th at around 4:23 a.m., San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies and San Bernardino County fire crews responded to a report of a vehicle collision in the 57,200 block of Farello Road in Yucca Valley. Deputies say they arrived to find a vehicle in the front yard of a home. No other vehicles were involved. Deputies identified the driver only as a 16-year-old male juvenile. He and a passenger were both injured in the collision. The Sheriff's Department said that the driver and passenger were taken by County Fire to High Desert Medical Center in Joshua Tree. After treatment at the hospital, the Sheriff's Department says that the driver was arrested on suspicion of DUI, cited, and released to a parent. A couple was arrested for investigation into child abuse after a family member called in an incident of alleged neglect. On Sunday at approximately 1 a.m., Morongo Basin Station deputies responded to a call in the 5900 block of Lupine Avenue in 29 Palms. Deputies say that a family member had contacted law enforcement to report an act of child cruelty. They told officers that Keely Cook, 29, and Joshua Gwynn, 41, had been intentionally neglecting their child. According to deputies, both Cook and Gwynn were arrested at the scene, and the child was taken to a hospital for a checkup by medical personnel. Gwynn is currently in court proceedings for a misdemeanor domestic battery charge from 2024. According to court records, Gwynn was released from custody on May 29th. Keely Cook and Joshua Gwynn were arrested for investigation into child abuse with possible great bodily injury or death. They are each being held at the West Valley Detention Center on $50,000 bail. Southern California Edison representatives met with residents of the Morongo Basin last night at a community town hall hosted by 29 Palms Council person April Ramirez. The meeting was billed as an opportunity to learn about Edison programs, ask questions, and discuss the area's electric system's future. Reporter Hillary Sloan has more.
Only 3 members of the public attended the meeting, enabling an informal discussion focused primarily on infrastructure improvements in 29 Palms, customer assistance programs, wildfire preparedness, and energy efficiency resources. While residents in Yucca Mesa and Pioneertown have experienced repeated power outages over the past several weeks, those outages received little attention until the end of the meeting when I asked the Southern California Edison program manager Shane Masad about the recent failures. Masad said the problem was traced to protective equipment on the Yucca Mesa and Pioneertown circuit that had been set too sensitively. He explained that the settings were overriding the circuit's protective devices. As a result, instead of isolating a small section of the power line when a fault occurred, the system was shutting off electricity across the entire Yucca Mesa and Pioneertown circuit. Masad said Southern California Edison has since installed additional protective devices and adjusted the settings while continuing to meet California's wildfire safety requirements. Customers affected by the outages will receive a letter explaining the changes, and Edison says it is considering a separate community meeting focused specifically on the Yucca Mesa and Pioneertown circuit. For Z107.7 News, this is reporter Hillary Sloan.
It's the final weekend for Fortress at Theater 29. Described as an absurd comical farce set in medieval times, Fortress is an original play being brought back to life by the writer and director Sherry Ann Greer. She was a guest on the Z107.7 Up Close show earlier this month, where she discussed the play with host Gary Daigneault, written 30 years ago in response to the riots in Los Angeles that followed the trial of Rodney King in 1992. Greer explained that her play is a reaction to those real-life incidents. Here's a snippet from that conversation.
The verdict came out on the 4 policemen, and the town blew up. And for those of us that were there in LA when this happened, it was very traumatic. But most of the time we were not involved. We were watching it on TV. You could understand why people were burning down the town. But at the same time, it was also like, no, don't burn down the town. That's your town. And people around the world throughout history have rioted and looted when conditions were oppressive. Or some terrible injustice has occurred. Riots happen for systemic reasons generally. So this play, Fortress, is a comedic reaction. And so, we did it. But when you go to see this play, it is a comedy. It is a farce. It's 30 years later, first of all. So, and we're not in LA, and so you didn't just live through the riots 2 years ago. But what still holds true is that there is a systemic hierarchy that has the very wealthy at the top and all the way down the line to the very poorest. And you do see that in the characters of Fortress, and how this hierarchical system is what really, I think, creates problems like riots. It's because things are not fair, basically.
So if someone would ask you for the short answer, what is Fortress all about? You'd say, it's a farce about riots.
Yeah, it's a farce about a riot.
Fortress finishes its run this weekend at Theater 29. Friday and Saturday performances are at 7 p.m. and the Sunday matinee is at 2:30 p.m. Tickets are available at theater29.org. Fortress is proudly supported by a grant from Visit 29. And finally, in November of 2025, Steve Scoville was promoted to captain and given command of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Morongo Basin Station. As the captain, Scoville oversees law enforcement for the city of 29 Palms and the town of Yucca Valley, as well as a wide unincorporated area that stretches from Amboy to Morongo Valley. On the Z107.7 Up Close show tomorrow, Captain Scoville will talk about the services offered and the challenges of serving a unique desert area. The Up Close show is airing tomorrow, live at 10 a.m. on Z107.7. That's our local news. Hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. If you hear about news happening, let us know. Email us at tips@z1077fm.com. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z107.7 Local News, I'm News Director Jeff Harmatz.